record this also. Okay, I'm recording. Okay, so we're recording discussion of reading comprehension. This is July 6th SAT class. And we are looking at the May 2017 exam, which I'll post to the Schoology site if you're not here. And the first thing that we want to do is scan the questions to see what line-specific questions we have to answer, like number 3 and number 4, of course, and what questions are more general, like 1 and 2. So the next thing we want to do is we want to look at how many lines there are. So there's 6 lines, right? I like to divide the passage into thirds. So 6 divided by 3 is 22. So probably every 20 lines or so is a good place to take a break. If I look at the beginning of this passage, probably I'll read up to line 25 because that's the first 2 paragraphs. So again, don't skim the passage. Don't skim the passage because you do need to read the whole thing, but also don't read it all in one shot. So it's a balancing act. You got to find kind of a happy medium. The happy medium is read the first third of the passage. And how do you determine the first third? Look how many lines there are, divide by 3. And of course, give or take a few lines. So again, 6 lines, divide by 2 is 20, divide by 3 is 22. But I think line 25 is a good place to take a break. And then I'll answer some questions. After I read up to line 25, I could totally do number 3, because that talks about line 11. So we'll start reading. This passage is adapted from Philip Roth, American Pastoral, 1997 by Philip Roth. The Swede, in quotations, was a nickname of Seymour Lvov, a talented athlete from the narrator's hometown. Okay. And by the way, the first passage is usually going to be like a literary, like a short story, something like that. One night in the summer of 1985, while visiting New York, I went out to see the Mets play the Astros. And while circling the stadium with my friends, looking for the gate to our seats, I saw the Swede, 36 years older than when I'd watch him play baseball for Uppsala. He wore a white shirt, a striped tie, and a charcoal gray summer suit, and he was still terrifically handsome. The golden hair was a shade or 2 darker, but not any thinner. No longer was it cut short, but fell rather fully over his ears and down to his collar. In this suit that fit him so exquisitely, he seemed even taller and leaner than I remembered him in the uniform of one sport or another. The woman with us noticed him first. Who is that? Is that Mary Lindsay? She asked. No, I said. My God, you know who that is? It's Swede Lvov. I told my friends that's the Swede. So far, what I've read so far is that he's describing this guy from his past, and he's kind of talking about a kind of very positive light. Like this guy was a really good-looking guy, tall athlete, and he seems very excited to see him. But the narrator has a friend or some woman with him, and she doesn't know who he is, right? But he's like, come on, like it's kind of like if you saw like Steph. I mean, I think most people know Steph Curry, but if you didn't know Steph Curry was, I would go crazy because I love Steph Curry. So like, who are you talking about if you don't know basketball, right? So anyway, that's kind of what's happening here. A skinny, fair-haired boy of about 7 or 8 was walking alongside the Swede, a kid under a Mets cap pounding away at a first baseman's mitt that dangled, as had the Swede's, from his left hand. The two, clearly a father and his son, were laughing about something together when I approached, introduced myself, and the narrator says, I knew your brother at Weehawken, or I don't even know how to pronounce that. So somewhere in New York, I'm guessing. Okay, so now let's look at the question, line 11. Number 3, as used in line 11, what does the word exquisitely most nearly mean? We just read it, but I'll go back anyway because I kind of forgot. It's about the suit. The suit fit him so exquisitely, he seemed even taller and leaner. Okay, so it talks about the suit was a really good fit. That's what it sounds like. The suit was a good fit. So what would you say? Perfectly, I like that. It's a great choice. So it's all about context. I mean, exquisite could be like something that's very done well. Like if you go out to a nice restaurant, they have very exquisite dishes that are skillfully put together. It could be formal maybe, but it's all about the context, right? How is it used in the passage? And I totally agree, perfectly would make a lot of sense. And we just read it, it's fresh in our head, right? Okay, I don't think I can answer 4 yet. And I don't think I can answer 5, because 5 goes to 6, and 6 has line references we haven't read yet. 7, yeah, we haven't really read the part about the comparison of his father to another baseball player. So we're gonna keep reading. So now we pick up from where we left off, and we're gonna read up to, I'd say line 46 or so. It might be a good place to take another break. So we'll read again. I'll just read the whole thing. You're Zuckerman, he replied, vigorously shaking my hand. The author. I'm Zuckerman, the author. Sure, you were Jerry's great pal. I don't think Jerry had great pals. He was too brilliant for pals. He just used to beat my pants off at ping pong down in your basement. Being at ping pong was very important to Jerry. So you're the guy, my mother says, and he was such a nice, quiet child when he came to the house. You know who this is? The Swede said to the boy. The guy who wrote those books, Nathan Zuckerman. So far, I mean, you have to pay careful attention to the dialogue. Lines 34 through 39, sorry, 34 to 38 is the Swede talking. And the Swede is now admiring the narrator. It's like, oh, you know, this is a famous author. Whereas the author is like, oh, you're the famous baseball player. So they're both kind of giving each other a lot of love, right? Then mystified, the boy shrugged and muttered, hi. And then the Swede says, this is my son, Chris. And then Nathan, the narrator, says, these are friends, I said, sweeping an arm out to introduce the three people with me. And this man, I said to him, is the greatest athlete in the history of Weehawken High, a real artist in 3 sports. Played first base like Hernandez, and if you look at a footnote, well, I know because I followed baseball in the 80s. Keith Hernandez is a great baseball player for the Mets, but first base for the Mets in the mid 80s, okay. It says here, a real artist in 3 sports, played first base like Hernandez, thinking a line drive double sitter. Do you know that? I said to his son. And then also said, your dad was our Hernandez. Then the boy says, Hernandez is left-handed. So the boy's kind of trying to be a little like smart aleck, like, well, you know, my dad's right-handed, Hernandez left-handed. But anyway, but the narrator is comparing the Swede to a famous baseball player. And for those who just arrived, just so you know, we're doing classes. Okay. So now let's answer some questions. I probably could answer number 4. I've read enough. Which choice best supports concludes that Chris, the Swede son, reminds the narrator of the Swede? Okay. So again, that reminds Chris. Chris is the son of the baseball player himself. Like, what part of the passage talks about how they look alike? Don't know if lines 18 through 21 are going to work for us. Let's see, let me look at that one more time. Actually, I would say the first choice. I would say A. What do you think gives it away? Like, what part in that? Describe also after line 21, they say the 2, clearly a father and a son. So right after line 21, sometimes the evidence will happen afterwards. So yes, they describe him, and you know, they said the Swede was skinny and fair-haired. So the son probably the same way. But then he says the 2, clearly a father and a son, because you know, they look like each other. So yeah, so I'd say A for number 4. The other ones actually don't do any comparisons between the son and Swede, the baseball player. And the meaningful irony of the passage is that while the narrator had admired the young Swede's accomplishments, the Swede, we don't know how to answer that one just yet, because number 6 has some evidence we haven't got to yet. But number 7, we probably could answer, because he does talk about Hernandez, Keith Hernandez, this famous player for the New York Mets. So we look at number 7, Chris, the Swede son. You're saying C? Yeah, I would say C, totally, yeah. So Chris, the Swede son, responds to his comparison of his father to another baseball player. Yeah, because the narrator tells the son, hey, your dad was like Keith Hernandez, like this great baseball player. And this kid's like, Keith Hernandez left-handed, but that's right-handed, right? He points out an inconsistency with the comparison, absolutely. And I like C a lot. Yeah, C makes a lot of sense. Kid doesn't show gratitude. He's just like kind of brushing it off and not revealing his admiration for his father. Not the narrator is comparing his father to another player, but not the kid himself. We'll go back and read some more. So now we have the rest to read, right? We got to finish this off and tackle the rest of the questions. So let me pick up from where we left off. All right. So, well, guys, quiet, please. That's the only difference, I said to the little literalist, and put my hand against his father. Nice to see you, Swede. You bet. Take it easy, Skip. Remember me to your brother, I said. He laughed, we parted, and someone was saying to me, well, the greatest athlete in the history of Weehawken High called you Skip. So this means that the baseball player, Swede, actually remembered the narrator's nickname from back in the day. So, so apparently the narrator of the story, who's admiring the baseball player, the Swede also admired the narrator and called him by his nickname. I know, I can't believe it. And I did feel almost as wonderfully singled out as I had one time before at the age of 10. When the Swede had got so personal as to recognize me by the playground nickname, I departed because of 2 grades I skipped in grade school. Midway through the first day, the woman with us turned to me and said, you should have seen your face. You might as well have told us he was Zeus, in Greek mythology, rule of the gods. I saw just what you looked like as a boy. Okay. So now let's look at the questions. We could probably do 5, 6. So meaningful irony in the past is that while the narrator had admired the young Swede's accomplishments, the Swede also admired the narrator, right? Not A. I'd probably say B. Not C. Yeah, not D either. Yes. He calls him Skip because he skipped 2 grades, but not of his more scholarly classmates, of other classmates. I don't know. But I like B a lot. Now, what evidence for 6 do you think goes well with 5? So of those lines, you're saying C, or what choice? So what evidence for 6 do you think would match well with choice B for 5? Because I'm feeling B for 5 for sure. But I need to find evidence that shows that the Swede also appreciated the narrator's accomplishments. You're saying C? But D? Well, let's take a look. Let's look at lines 34 to 38. So you're the guy, my mother says, and he was such a nice, quiet child when he came to the house. And then the Swede tells his son, you know who this is? The guy who wrote those books, Nathan Zuckerman. So it's going to be B for 6 because that shows that the Swede also is giving some credit to the narrator for his accomplishments. I could C because he does call him by his nickname, but I would probably go with B because I think that does a better job of providing evidence for number 5. 7 we took care of. Let's look at 8. When someone repeats a phrase, the greatest athlete in history of that high school, the main effect is to not so much A, because that seems too firm. It's a little. You want to avoid things that seem too opinionated, I guess. Yeah, I say probably B. Yeah, not an incident. Tease the narrator? No. His friends are teasing him. Oh, wait one sec. No, I totally misread that one. Let's look at it again. I'm incorrect. He laughed, we parted, and someone was saying to me, so it's one of the friends telling the narrator, well, the greatest athlete in the history of the high school called you Skip. Okay, so what effect did that have? It wasn't the narrator saying that. That's my apologies. If that was the narrator saying that, I would have said, I would agree with B. It's actually going to be C because they are teasing him. So that is the effect it has. So my apologies. I thought the narrator saying that was one of his friends saying that. So that's why it's C. So it's all about the context. You have to be very careful and very critical here. B was done as a track. It's totally C. For 9, based on the passage, the reason the narrator was amazed that the Swede had called him Skip was most part the narrator, probably B, I'd say. Not so much C. We don't know that for sure. Not A. Was not whether the Swede had ever known his nickname. Let's see if that's evidence for that. Yeah, I probably, probably say B for that one. Let me double check the answer because I'm not 100% sure. Because I could see D also working for us. It's B. Okay. And the reference is Zeus in line 6 mainly serves to just have, again, the narrator is putting the suite up on a pedestal, right? Polier, I would go with A on that one. Not intimidated, those around him. Yeah, so I guess just holds someone in very high regard. So yeah, that'd be A. And then finally, we go do 1 and 2. The main purpose of the passage is to show an event, force narrator to reevaluate his perspectives, analyze how past experience shape the narrator's and another character's future, reflect on the change that people go through as they give up on their childhood dreams, describe an accidental meeting that reveals the narrator's relationship with the character. I totally go D, because they just happen to bump into each other, and we start learning about their relationship with each other. So I say D for 1. And the main theme of the passage is a friend who get back in touch after many others that find that everything has changed. No, encountering a memorable person from the past, making an adult feel like a child again. Totally, he gets very nostalgic. I'd probably go B. Playing sports gets an experience. No, older people tend to remember the past as being better. I'll go B for 2. So that's the process. Now I'm gonna have you guys try this on your own. So go ahead and do an actual stop the recording.